Quint versus Steele. Step forward.
26-year-old Crystal Quint is suing the father of her son, Aaron Steele, for more than $2,000 in credit card charges.
Miss Quint, how old are you?
26.
Have you ever watched my courtroom on television?
Yes, I have.
So how many years?
Many.
How many is many?
Probably 10.
And in the 10 years you've been watching how the proceedings go here and what the litigants are like, didn't it ever impress you that whenever you give money to a guy, you always get the short end of the stick?
Yes.
You thought you were different.
Yes.
And you thought he was different.
Yes.
They all think they're different. They're all the same.
I know that now.
You have a child with him.
Yes, I do.
How old?
He'll be 3 next month.
How many times did Mr. Steele propose marriage to you?
Once.
When?
January 1st of 2007.
And what did you say to him?
Yes. But it only lasted 5 days.
Just a second. You said yes.
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, we were engaged, and then 5 days later, I broke it off.
Why?
Because I found out a huge lie.
A huge lie?
Yes.
But you continued to see him.
Yes.
And you gave him a lot of money.
Yes, I did.
And you gave him a credit card.
No, I did not. I did not give him the card. I used the card.
You let him charge things on the card.
Only for his car.
And he promised to pay you.
Yes, he did.
And he didn't pay you.
Correct.
That was another lie.
Yes.
After you broke off your engagement with him because of a really huge lie. Now, what part of different from all the other people that you saw over 10 years did you think he was? Okay, Mr. Steele's defense is that's what couples do for each other. She gave me money, and that's what couples do for each other.
We weren't together.
Just a second.
Yeah, that's what couples do for each other. They help each other out.
Okay, Mr. Steele. Well, you helped her out, and she became pregnant, right? Yes. And now you have a 3-year-old child, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your only child?
No.
How many other children do you have?
I have one other.
How old?
He's 6.
Are you married to his mother?
No.
You just like to make them, right?
Yeah.
Now, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Steele?
Construction.
And
He's
how much
not working right
Shut
now.
up! Do I look like I need help? You're in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a child support order for Miss Quint's baby?
Yes.
How much?
It hasn't been settled yet.
Well, the child's 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 years, have you lived together?
No.
How much child support have you paid?
I haven't paid any child support.
Well, then I'm trying to figure out what you do for her as a couple.
I paid bills that I had to
Tell
pay
me.
when I was working.
No. Just tell me, in the last 2 years, what bills did you pay for her?
Rent,
2.
cable.
Just a minute. Rent? You paid her rent when?
2007.
When in 2007, sir?
Like January, February. I helped pay rent every month.
For how long?
The whole time I was living there.
When you weren't living there.
I didn't pay anything.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. In the last 2 years, you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't set a child support order yet, but that doesn't mean anything. The child is not, you don't put him in a vacuum for 2 years. The child eats, has clothes, has medical, has all kinds of other expenses. I want to know how much you pay Miss Quint. I assume the child is with her.
Yes.
How much do you pay for your child?
Nothing.
Why?
I don't have the money, even
Who
if I did
cares
want
whether
to
you
pay.
have? I don't care whether you have the money or not. Is it a boy or a girl that you have in this Quint?
It's a boy.
Your son doesn't care whether you have the money or not. He has to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And how much money do you send for your 6-year-old?
None.
You think that he lives on love too?
I hope.
I hope. You're a bum. You're a bum who spends a lot of money on his own jewelry. You think that I think you're cute? I don't. You may get young ladies like this who think that you're adorable. I guarantee you, to me, you look like nothing but a bum. Now, what did you take money from her for in 2008? You needed to have your truck fixed. And how much did that cost?
Well, it was my car.
I don't care whether it was a truck or a car. It had 4 wheels, not 2, smart Alec. Let's go. How much did it cost?
About $4,500.
And who paid for it?
Crystal Quint did.
From what money?
On her credit card.
And how did you think that that was going to get paid?
Monthly payments.
By whom?
We were a couple.
You weren't a couple in 2008. You told me that you moved out in 2007. You weren't a couple. Couples who have children together live together. You weren't living with her in 2008.
I didn't plan on paying anything back to her.
Well, that's a big mistake. Should have saved your money from K Jewelers and put a little money towards your car and spent a little more money on the children that you made. Did he pay you back any of this money, Miss Quint?
He paid a total of $141.
You have 2 children, right?
I only have one.
You have 1. He has 2.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
I work for a pet shop in Las Vegas.
How long have you been working for them?
Since the moment I moved to Las Vegas, so a little over 3 years.
You live by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Who takes care of your son?
I do, 100%.
He's in daycare when you're working?
No, actually, he comes with me, and my mom comes picks him up.
You sued him for support?
I'm in the process right now.
You waited too long.
I know.
He doesn't do anything unless he has to.
I know that now. That's why I did the child support order, is because I've asked him for money, and he won't send me
He's
anything.
a bum. Bums don't do what they're supposed to do. If you have 2 children, you collect cans in the street in order to send them some money. You do something, because somehow he's eating, right?
Yes.
And he's got a roof over his head, right?
At his grandpa's, yes.
Somehow he's surviving. Don't let me hear that you're back with him again.
Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old student Nikki Frazier and guardian Sam Suter are suing Nikki's mother, Stacy Hebb, for child support costs. Nikki says her mom won't turn over child support she receives from her father.
Mr. Suter, your complaint is that you and your family were nothing but kind to the defendant. She was having some difficulty, and she was unemployed several years ago. Her daughter and your daughter were friends since grade school, and you volunteered to give her a home.
Yes, ma'am.
When she was 16. How did you do in their home, in the Suter home? Did you do okay?
Yes.
Did you graduate yet?
Oh, I graduate in a couple weeks.
What are you doing after graduation?
I want to go to college.
How did you do in high school?
I make good grades.
She's been AB honor roll all through high school.
Did you apply to college?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because the application fees are like $50 for each application, and my mom told me she'd help me pay for them, but she never helped me pay for it.
So, Mr. Suter, this is your lawsuit. Ms. Fraser lived with you for 2 years, and you got no support for her from her mother. You did not even seek support.
No, ma'am.
But then you found out that Ms. Hebb was getting support for Nikki from Nikki's father, and you feel as if that's unfair.
Somewhat, yes.
This is not rocket science, Ms. Hebb. How long have you been divorced from Nikki's father?
Since she was about 6 or 7.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the other children also the product of this marriage?
No, ma'am.
And how much do you receive from Nikki's father for her support?
$50 a week.
What did you do with the money since 2003?
When she has called and said that she didn't have any food in the house and she needed me to take her to eat, I would feed her. If she's needed personal hygiene items, I've taken her. I've paid her cell phone bills. And yes, I did tell her that I would pay for her application fees. She never came to me and said, I've applied here and I need
I'm
the
not worried
money."
about college vacation fees. How do you support yourself?
I'm a live-in nanny.
You think you have an obligation to support your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
So that the things you bought for her, the few toiletries you bought for her, or paying a cell phone bill, you did that for your daughter because you're her mother. That's what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
The $50 a week that you were getting from her father should have gone to the Suter family.
He never asked for support or I would have given it to him.
Why does he have to ask? Did you ever say to him, Ms. Hebb, Mr. Suter, I get money for Nikki's support from her father. It's not right that I keep it. I'm going to turn it over to you when I get it.
No, ma'am, I didn't. I instead, like I said, whenever she would call and said that she needed things, I would take care of her.
Well, that's what you did for her because you're her mother. She has 2 parents, a mother and a father. You're the mother. You work. If you have to take care of a few items, if you happen to take care of a few items for your daughter, that's very nice of you. The other $50 a week, if her father knew that she wasn't living in your home, did your father know you weren't living?
He just found out recently because I didn't have his number to get a hold of him.
If her father knew, I guarantee you, her father wouldn't have said, well, I'm going to send her money.
Her father has known. She's gone and seen him since she's lived with Mr. Suter.
I'm just curious. Not that I'm taking this for the truth of what you're going to tell me, but just my own curiosity. Did he ever say to you, if he knew that she wasn't living with you, I'd like to send the money to Mr. Suter?
No, ma'am.
Never did.
No, ma'am.
He must have had a lobotomy. Ms. Hebb, this is not a difficult case. It doesn't even test my academic prowess. The last 2 years, your daughter has been living with the Suter family, and you've collected $50 a week, roughly $2,500 a year. The Suters are suing you for $5,000 because that's approximately what you've collected over the time that your daughter has been living with the Suters from her father, and that money should have been turned over to the Suter family immediately. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all. Make those college applications.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Kristen Schumacher is suing family friend, 25-year-old Evan Graham, for the balance on a boat. Evan says Karen sold him a piece of junk.
Ms. Schumacher, you sold the defendant a boat.
I did.
Defendant was somebody that you knew,
Yes.
and you had an arrangement. He gave you a deposit, and he took possession of the boat. He was supposed to pay you the balance in a week or so. He never paid you the balance. You want the balance on the boat.
Correct.
And Mr. Graham says that he relied on your friendship, that this was a good boat. It ended up being a lemon, and you ripped him off, and he's not paying anymore.
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
23.
You work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I own my own plumbing company.
Very good. So you're in business?
Yes.
You deal with contracts, is that right?
Yes.
When did you buy the boat, sir?
It would have been the end of August.
Give me the date.
August 18th.
And that's when you agreed, is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
What was the price you agreed on, Mr. Graham?
$3,500.
So there was an offer to sell the boat and an acceptance of the price, correct?
Correct.
Was this a verbal contract?
Yes.
And you gave her a deposit?
Of $800.
And you took possession of the boat?
Correct.
And then what happened, Mr. Graham?
I bring it out to the lake to test drive it, and I wouldn't run.
Why didn't you make an arrangement with Ms. Schumacher for a test drive of the boat before you bought it?
Because she was a family friend, so if there was any problems, we could work it out.
Who said that?
It's an assumption.
What did
So,
you do with the boat?
I bring it to a mechanic, spent $1,200.
Just a second. Did you take it out on the 18th? Or did you take it out later?
It might have been the 19th, I don't remember.
Was it the 18th or the 19th?
He purchased it on the 18th. I tabbed and licensed it for him the morning of the 19th. Then he took it from the property about 10 a.m. in the morning, I believe.
On the 19th?
On the 19th.
When did he call and tell you he was having trouble with the boat?
On the 20th.
Okay. And you took it to your mechanic, you put in $1,200.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you were satisfied that it was done?
Yes.
So you took it back to the water. When?
It would have been roughly about a week after I purchased it by the time he was done the work.
So the 27th.
Yeah, roughly. So I bring it back out, and now with it running correctly, I hit the throttle, and the whole transom with the motors mounted to almost broke right off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas tank came completely disconnected and spilled gas all over the floor of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the middle of the lake with a boat full of gas, and the transom's completely cracked.
When was the last time, Mr. Graham, that you drove this boat?
Early September.
No, I'm talking about before you purchased it.
I've never drove the boat in my life before I purchased it.
You purchased the boat. You waited until the boat was titled in your name till the next day. Then you came and got it. You had trouble with it. You buy a used boat. That sometimes happens. You took it to your mechanic. Your mechanic had the boat for an entire week. And I'm not prepared to say that whatever he did to the boat had no causal connection to what the trouble was that you ultimately had with the boat. I don't know, quite frankly. All I know is that you and Ms. Schumacher had a contract, and you have to abide by the terms of that contract. Do you understand?
Not completely, no.
Well, I tried to explain it to you in the most simplistic terms I can. Would you like me to use monosyllables?
No, maybe you could explain the part about if you have a contract and she says it runs good and it's structurally sound and it's not. Doesn't that void a contract?
You have a writing that says that she is selling this boat in good running order, no mechanical problems, and you're buying the boat contingent upon that? Do you have that?
No, it was a verbal contract.
Your verbal contract is the simplistic one, Mr. Graham, because if I were to ask her whether she tells me that she guaranteed to you when you purchased that boat that she said it was structurally sound and mechanically sound, what do you think she's going to tell me?
Your Honor, I did tell him the boat was running well.
You told him it was running well. The last time you rode the boat was when?
The summer before, which would have been the end of August, last week in August.
So you hadn't driven in it.
That's right.
For 1 year.
Right. It was parked for the winter because it's a small ski boat and you don't take it out in winter.
The last time you rode the boat, was it running well?
Ran fine.
Did you know the boat had been sitting there for a year?
Yes.
Out of the water?
Yes.
Mr. Graham, you owe her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan.
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 or $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento, and to me that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe her 100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do. But she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why.
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me, you can see this on the bingo paper, with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question.
Listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today.
Mm-hmm.
The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Brandy McCant says, Gentlemen's Club owner Joe Meridian and graphic designer Farron Young used a picture of her on a club flyer without her permission.
Miss McCant, your claim is that you went to a photographer and had some photos taken of you.
Yes.
And those photographs were subsequently used without your permission by a gentleman's club. Who is representing the gentleman's club?
I am, Judge.
And your name is?
Joe Meridian.
For flyers to promote the club, and it was used in such a way as to depict you as a pole dancer. You were a college student, and you gave no permission to Mr. Meridian or anyone else to use the photographs for those purposes. Mr. Young is a graphic designer who somehow got a hold of those pictures on the internet and created the flyer that Mr. Meridian used. So you're suing both of them.
Yes, I am.
Mr. Young says he got the photographs from the internet, from what he believed was a free site where anybody could take pictures and use them for commercial purposes. Mr. Meridian says he's not responsible because he didn't prepare the flyer, and all he did was commission somebody to do it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, unfortunately for you, Mr. Meridian, that defense for this flyer won't fly, because the buck ultimately stops in the place where, if it was used improperly, it was used commercially for you, and you benefited from that photograph. So if I find that that happened without the plaintiff's permission, then you are responsible. Now, you have the right to sue those people that you think are responsible for getting you in hot water, and that would be somebody who you say created this flyer, but ultimately you're responsible. Okay, let's go back. When did you take these photographs and why?
These photographs were taken in March of 2008, and I did them with a photographer, David Garnes, as a test shoot.
Do you have pictures? Do you have the test shoot photographs?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Okay.
So they are provocative pictures, right? Now you can return them. And let me see the site, Mr. Young, where you got these pictures from.
Shows a disclaimer also.
Right,
a disclaimer on the website, Your Honor.
Can you show me where you say that this is a disclaimer and you can use these for free?
Well, he said disclaimer.
No.
I'm just showing
I
you.
want you to come up here and point out to me, or take this pen and point out to me here where it says, not that that's dispositive necessarily, but point out where it says that you can use these for free.
Can I elaborate?
No, I want to look where Mr. Meridian says that he thinks you can use them for free.
I didn't say for free, Your Honor. I just said disclaimer for using the photos. It says use for your own projects.
Yes, it says that you can use them for your own projects. It doesn't say you can use them for free.
Exactly. That's what I said I wanted to do.
Go ahead.
Okay, see, when you go to official PSDs, you can log in, right? And then you buy pictures that are exclusive. Now, the website also have a public domain.
You use this picture in creating what flyer, sir? I want to see the flyer that you created.
And she has the flyer right there.
We discontinued the flyer, Your Honor.
Of course.
We also changed the name of the club.
Oh, well, it's exactly the same picture, madam. It's exactly the same picture. They didn't take your head and put it on somebody else's body, or your body and put it on. This is the exact same picture that you took.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
Quiet. Correct?
That's the photo that I took.
That's the photograph that you took. Okay. Not difficult. You cannot use her pictures for commercial purposes without either getting her permission or paying her. Do you understand? I'm going to say it again. You cannot use her picture, her likeness, for your commercial purposes without either getting a waiver from her or permission or paying her.
Well, how much do we have to pay her?
Right. Today, how much do you have to pay her today? $5,000. That's what you have to pay her today.
But
just a second.
Okay.
Because if she took these pictures for her own purposes and she didn't give you permission to use them, it would be no different from you going on your television set and taking a picture of me. And then, because I'm out there, I'm free, right? I'm free.
Sure.
You can go and take a picture of me. You can take a picture of me. I'm walking in the street. You can take a picture of me. Somebody takes a picture of me and posts it on their website, and it's free. He takes a picture of me. You're the photographer, right?
Correct.
He takes a picture of me and posts it on his website. We're going to make this easy. He takes a picture of me in the street, posts it on his website. Don't look confused, sir. We're getting there.
I'm educated man.
We're
I
getting
understand
there.
what you're saying.
Don't look confused. We're getting there.
I got you.
Takes
so
a picture
far.
of me, posts it on his website. Your graphic designer says, I know how we could get a whole bunch of people in our gentleman's club. I'm going to take Judge Judy's somebody else's body, if you really want to get a customer, and put her around a pole. Now, shh, the picture is free. It's up there. He's posted my picture. Do you think that you have the right to use my image to get people to come into your club without my permission and without paying me?
See,
the answer is you do not.
But that's different.
No, sir. It's not different, Mr. Young. It's exactly the same. Now, let's say that there's a disclaimer on here.
Okay.
Let's say that it says free, you can use it free, and all these people are 21 years or older. And you say, oh, that's fine. I can use these, and they're all 21 years and older. And one of them turns out to be 14.
Oh.
Listen to me. One of them turns out to be 14. And you make her into a pole dancer, and you make flyers of her. Do you know where you're going to find yourself? In federal prison. And your defense of, I didn't know she was 14, she looked 21, they're going to say to you, that doesn't matter. That's kiddie porn. And you can't accept somebody else's statement here that it's free, just like if you meet a girl at a bar and you go home with her and have sex with her, and she turns out to be 13, and she's dressed like a 35-year-old, and they arrest you for statutory rape, you can't say to them, she told me she was 20, and she looked like 20, I didn't know. You know where you find yourself? In federal prison. Now, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You cannot use somebody else's likeness for your commercial purposes without getting a waiver from them and without paying them if they want to be compensated. Do you get it? Don't argue. Do you get it?
Get it? I don't agree with it.
Then move to Namibia or someplace else. I don't care where you move to. In this country, you cannot exploit someone.
Well, Your Honor.
Listen to me. You cannot exploit someone.
She exploited herself by putting herself all over the internet in a bikini.
No, my dear.
If she didn't want
my dear,
herself-
she didn't do that.
What were those shots for, Your Honor?
Listen to me. He did that.
Then
He did that.
She should be suing her photographer.
Just a second. You used it for commercial purposes.
I didn't use it.
Yes, you did.
I didn't pay this gentleman.
Listen to me. You used it for your own commercial purposes. If you think that you have the right to implead, which is sue the people who got you in trouble, do it.
All I'm saying is that...
Just a second. I'm not talking to you. Do it. But you used the flyers, you generated income from the flyers, and you are responsible for ensuring that anybody whose image you use, you have permission to use that image by either consent or a contract that pays them money. That's your responsibility. That's the buck stops. Now, you could say, listen, I was misled by somebody, so I'm going to sue them. You have the right to do that. Right now, the two of you are going to pay her $5,000. Now you can sit down. Now, you're the plaintiff.
Yes, I am.
Sit. Now you can stand back up again. Has he been sworn?
They've all been sworn.
All right, you're the photographer.
Yes, I am.
You're suing them.
I'm suing Farron
You're suing for what?
for using my picture for
That's
commercial
too bad. For using the picture without your permission? That would come under the category of too bad. Did you have her permission to post her picture on the internet?
Yes, I did.
Let me see it.
I don't have it.
That's too bad that you don't have it. Where'd you think you were coming to today? A tea dance?
No, I wanted to tell you.
Did you think you were coming to a tea dance?
No, I didn't.
Then you bring me her permission and her consent to put her picture up on the internet.
Well, she is my witness. Can she?
No,
Okay.
I want to see it because right now there could be a conspiracy between the two of you to get you another $5,000, which I'm not going to tolerate. Quiet!
Okay.
Do you understand that, sir?
I do understand that, man.
Right. As far as I'm concerned, you had no right to put her picture up on the internet. So you're not going to get compensated diddly. You got it?
Okay.
Goodbye.
Annie Linares is suing her former friend, Jamil Rivera, for the remaining payments on a 2005 Nissan Altima.
Miss Linares, you purchased a car. Shortly after you purchased the car, you realized you couldn't afford the car. Something happened with your job, I don't know. Mr. Rivera was a friend of yours. He had a very expensive car that he was renting, and so you worked out an agreement with him that he would take over the payments on your car and he would drive it. And within a period of time, a year or so, he would get a loan in his own name, put the car in his name, and you would be out of the debt that you had on the car. According to your complaint, Mr. Rivera paid for a while, then stopped paying, and the car was repossessed. You want the money that it will take to get the car back from the finance company.
That is correct.
Mr. Rivera says he was merely helping you out and you were going to lose the car anyway.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What kind of car is it?
It's a Nissan Altima 2005 Touring Series.
What were the monthly payments on the car?
$491.05.
How many payments did you make on the car?
I bought it in April. My first payment was in June, and I paid July and August and September.
And then Mr. Rivera took over?
That is correct.
What month did you take the car?
On July.
What month did you make your first payment?
On July.
She said she made 4 payments. She paid June, July, August, and September. She made 4 payments.
No, she didn't.
You have proof that you made 4 payments?
I made payments with my check for the car. The time he took the car was in September, and I recall it very well, Jamil, because my daughter's birthday was September 22nd.
Listen to me. Don't talk to him. Okay? Talk to me. Let's say you took the car in September. When did you stop making payments on the car?
Stop making payments around May.
Did you make all of the payments consistently? Because she has all the paperwork. So did you make all the payments consistently from September of 04, at least, until May of 05?
Yes, Your Honor. There were some of them were late.
How late?
A month.
Well, that's a lot late. That's not
correct,
late. Late is a day or 2 or maybe a week. Late is not when you have to double up payments.
Correct.
You bring me proof that you made those payments?
No, I don't have the proofs right now because I was rushed to the airport.
What, are you kidding me? If you don't have proof, sir, it doesn't exist. What you do is when you know you're being sued, you gather up all your stuff and you don't go to court until you have it. When were you notified of your court appearance, sir?
Approximately 2 weeks ago.
So I'm going to repeat again, Mr. Rivera. If you don't have the proof that you paid from September 04 until May of 05, it doesn't exist. When did he stop making payments?
The last payment was made on May of 05 for $900. And the check of June and July bounced.
So when did you last have the car in your possession?
In November 05.
Well, if you last made a payment, according to you, in May of 05, what were you doing with the car in your possession in November of 05?
At that time, I did call the company, and I called the dealership as well.
I don't care if you called the king of pro. What were you doing with the car in your possession, sir, if you didn't make payments May, June, July, August, September, October, 6 months? You had the car and didn't make a payment.
Go ahead, Jamil. Explain to her.
Mr. Linares, if you talk out of turn again, I'm going to throw you out. You want me to do that?
No, ma'am.
Well, I will. I will. You did the wrong thing. Say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't do the right thing to her because we had an agreement and I didn't follow through with my agreement. And there was no excuse for it because if I couldn't afford the car, I should have returned it to her in May.
Well, she acknowledged that.
Listen to me. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. If I couldn't afford the car, I should have returned it to her in May.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's better. Now, how much do they want now for you to get the car back?
They want the 6 months that I owe.
It's $29.46.
They want the late fees, delinquency, and collection charges.
You have a paper from them? You driving another car now, Mr. Rivera?
At this point, yes.
What kind of car are you driving now?
It's just a Honda Passport.
Where'd you get it from?
It's just a car that I lent from a family member.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in a bank right now.
In a bank? Doing what?
Financial advisor.
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a national bank?
Yes, ma'am.
There that you work in a bank, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,700. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sharon Martino Napolitano is suing the mother of her daughter's boyfriend, Deborah DeSimone, for damage caused to her Toyota Camry while the car was in her possession.
You two lovely ladies are neighbors, and you each have a child. You have a girl. You have a boy. They're dating each other.
Yes.
This is your complaint. You allowed your daughter, this young lady right here, to use your car. She was using your car one day to take Miss DeSimone around to do some chores.
Correct.
And that wouldn't have bothered you necessarily because she's the mother of the boyfriend, right? But then Miss DeSimone asked if she could borrow the car herself because she wanted to go food shopping, right?
Yes,
Food
to
town.
pick up a couple items.
And your daughter allowed her to drive the car. The car was damaged. You want Miss DeSimone to pay for the damage to the car.
Absolutely.
Miss DeSimone says she took the car, went into Food Town. While she was in Food Town, somebody must have hit your car.
Correct.
Right?
That is correct.
So it's not her fault. That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
We'll see. What year is your car?
It's a 1995 Camry.
How long have you had it?
Approximately a year.
So you bought it secondhand?
Yes, ma'am.
How many accidents have you had?
I've had one other one where I was hit from behind at a red light.
So you had a rear end damage to the car? Bumper? Or?
Bumper.
Bumper. Only the bumper?
Only the bumper.
Was the car fixed?
No.
On September 6th, what kind of damage was done to your car?
It would be the right quarter panel.
Do you have a photograph?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's before and after.
Ooh. That's a bad one. Okay. So, you still dating each other?
Yes.
Okay, this is not going to be painful. Believe me. We're going to use the but-for rule, Miss DeSimone.
Okay.
But for the fact that you borrowed the car and took it to Food Town to go shopping, this wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, you took the car. You didn't have her permission to drive the car. You had her daughter's permission to drive the car.
Actually, there was a couple things that happened prior to that. While I was in the car with her daughter, it was a very rainy day. Her daughter was driving the car. The car was hydroplaning a lot, and she became very nervous and asked if she pulled over if I would drive. I said, no problem, if it's safer. We completed our mission. We did proceed home. Asked if she didn't mind if I ran back out to just pick up a couple items at the Food Town. That's when all that began, and the police report states differently, if you'd like to see it, that he even stated, the police officer, that he saw prior damage on the car.
You mean this prior damage?
No, other damage.
We're not talking about other damage. We're talking about this damage.
But she's saying that there was only damage to the bumper, and according to this, it states that there was...
What difference does it make? This damage was not on the car, madam, when you borrowed it.
No.
That's all I'm talking about.
I don't believe so.
I am only talking about, well, you don't miss this damage.
No.
Ma'am,
No, you don't have to speak. It was going to be easy. Now it's not so easy. For the fact that you borrowed the car, took it to Food Town, the car would have been parked in her driveway. If the car was parked in her driveway, the same driver that hit her car from Food Town would have had to look for it.
Can I please say
Stop.
something?
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And she's taking your word for the fact that you don't know how this accident happened. But it looks as if she had hit somebody else's car, unless she, I don't know how you can contort yourself to do this kind of a damage to somebody else's car. But you had the car, but for the fact that you borrowed the car, it wouldn't have had this kind of damage.
Correct.
This damage. Good. Then we don't have a problem. What do you want?
Okay. She just got done stating that the car was hydroplaning earlier, okay?
It doesn't make any difference.
Excuse me. They made it home safely. She has a Jeep Cherokee parked in the same parking lot that she could have used her own vehicle to go to the store. There is no reason to take my little car back out.
Let me ask you this question. Now you're getting angry, and you already won. So you have to go, find your center.
I've been trying to do a lot of it. I've been trying to find a lot of my
your center
center.
and say, it's over.
But I would have never asked her son to use her car.
Listen to me. It's a car. She's responsible. Done. Romeo and Juliet here. We're going to leave here happy. I suggest you do the same. How much did it cost to fix your car?
The estimate is $1687.98.
That's a pretty cheap estimate for this kind of damage.
I think so.
It is. Anything else? Romeo, Juliet. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1687.98. Thank you. That's it.
23-year-old Ileana Torres is suing her ex-fiancé, 25-year-old Benny DeJesus, for a loan to pay his child support. Ileana says Benny was in danger of going to jail for the second time.
How old are you, Miss Torres?
23.
And you, sir?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a professional esthetician.
What about you, Mr. DeJesus? What do you do?
An electrician.
How many children do you have, Miss Torres?
Just one.
How old?
He's 5.
Does he live with you?
Yes, he does.
Who supports him?
I do.
How many children do you have, Mr. DeJesus?
One, Your Honor.
Where does that child live?
He lives with his mother right now.
And who supports your child?
Well, I pay child support every month right now, and she has physical custody of him.
Do you pay child support for Miss Torres's child?
No, ma'am.
Because it's not your child.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be stupid for you to pay child support for Miss Torres's child because the child doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Child has a mother and a father,
Yeah.
and the mother and father should pay child support.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what your lawsuit is about, Miss Torres. You and Mr. DeJesus had the unfortunate experience of being engaged to each other for a period of time. And while you were so involved, Mr. DeJesus fell behind in his child support, among other things. But this is what your lawsuit is about. And it is your claim that you made a loan to him so that he wouldn't go to jail to pay his child support.
Yes.
Now, Mr. DeJesus says she paid the child support. You acknowledge.
Yes, I did. Yeah, she paid it for me.
But it was a gift. Now do you understand my preliminary questions?
Oh, yes. Clear as a bell.
So I asked you a couple of seconds ago, Mr. DeJesus, you wouldn't pay child support for her child, right?
Yeah.
Because the child's not yours.
Nope.
Child has a mother and a father.
Yep.
Parents are supposed to pay for their own children,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And if you don't pay child support for your child, you're a bum.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect. How much did you give him to pay the child support?
$2,400.
And how much time was he facing in jail if he didn't pay the child support?
2 years.
Ah.
It would have been his second time going to jail for not paying his child support.
That's a bum times 2. Now, Miss Torres, I mean, he's easy to take care of. You know, I could take care of 10 of him with this pinky. 10 of him. My question to you is, you don't look like a marginal person. You look somebody in the eye when you speak to them. You have a child that you support, lives with you. What are you doing with him? I mean, are things so desperate out there that you got to pick a bum who's got one child and has fallen behind twice in child support to the extent that the second time they were going to put him in jail for 2 years? You're going to get your $2,400 because that's what he owes you. Because he doesn't want to pay for your child and you shouldn't have to pay for his. Right, Mr. DeJesus?
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't $2,400. She only gave me $1,000. The rest of it I raised myself.
Show me the $2,400, Miss Torres.
She knows that it was $1,000 she gave me.
This is the check.
And the rest of it was raised
This is the check
up
that
and
I
all
had
put
signed.
together.
This is where it came out of my son's bank account.
Because the money
And
was
it got-
deposited
no,
in there
it
so that
was
we could
not.
write a check out for it because I
And
can't
I
get
got
cash.
my money in there.
She knows that the reason the money was deposited was so that I could write a check out because I had to have record of the money that I'm paying.
No,
for
and
my
I
child
have a
support.
piece of paper.
Well, no time around the withdrawal of this $2,400, sir, did anybody put in $1,500?
It was sporadically put in. It was $200 here. As I kept raising the money, I would put the money into the account because the court date was coming. When the court
You
date
should
came,
have kept better
we
records.
deposited.
What kind of an excuse did you give to the mother of your child every time you didn't send money?
I mean,
Checks in the mail.
We both spoke. We speak every time we see each other. She knows if I'm late and when she's gonna get her money.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. DeJesus. Yesterday, did you eat dinner?
Yeah.
And you have a cell phone?
No.
You have a regular phone?
No, actually, no. Thanks to Miss Torres here, I don't have nowhere to live actually right now.
I was paying for everything for you.
She took my car.
Miss Torres,
threw my clothes
does he
away.
does he have a problem that's eating up the money that he's earning from being an electrician?
From what I'm concerned, I don't know. But
You don't
when
know.
I met him, he did have problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I'm doing is telling you, I know. And you have a responsibility because you have a 5-year-old child. You're only supposed to bring the right kind of people into their lives. You got it?
Yes.
Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Suing his stepbrother, 25-year-old Dominic Roja, for towing and storage fees for a truck he sold him.
Mr. Marchetti, the defendant is your stepbrother. You claim to have sold him a truck.
Yes.
And because of his irresponsibility, the truck got towed, and you're now being done for all kinds of money because he never had the truck transferred into his name.
Yes.
You want the credit company paid them off your back. And Mr. Roja has what is potentially, if it's true, a legitimate defense. So I want to start with you, Mr. Marchetti. What year truck was this?
This was a 1995 Isuzu.
And when did you sell the truck to your brother?
In July of 2009.
When had you purchased it?
I was
Don't
actually,
look over there.
It was actually.
Look at me.
It was actually.
Look,
It was a gift from my grandpa who actually just passed away. So this truck does have sentimental value to it.
Oh, get over. If it had sentimental value, you wouldn't have sold it.
It was to my stepbrother.
Listen to me.
His grandfather.
Let's not play with me.
Okay.
You're not adorable to me. The truck was a gift. When did you get it?
I got it in probably 2008, January 2008.
What are you looking over there for? Why can't you look right here? Stand still. Stop moving foot to foot. Look right here. You
January 2008.
Did you title the truck in your name?
Yes, I did.
When?
In the middle of...
Don't look over there. Look over here. In the middle of what?
In the middle of 08, January.
Well, January would be the beginning of 2008, not the middle of 2008.
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? Those are two different things.
The middle of January in 2008.
When did it have to be re-registered?
It had to be re-registered in the beginning of 2009.
Did you do that?
No, I did not.
So January of 09, it was not registered.
Yes.
Had you received any citations on that truck?
Yes. I had a toll violation.
How many?
One toll violation.
Did you pay it?
No, I did not.
So that there were outstanding violations on the truck at the time you sold it to Mr. Roja.
Yes, but I had told him that when I sold it to him.
Don't tell me what you told him. Now, there were outstanding violations on the truck, so it could not be registered.
Unless the ticket was paid, yes. But I had told him. And I put as is on my bill of sale, too.
As is means the truck is sold as is, not that you have encumbrances on it.
Well, in our verbal agreement, he said that
Don't tell me what your verbal agreement was, sir. You have a sales contract?
Yes, I do.
Does it say anywhere in that sales contract that there are outstanding violations on this truck and you cannot register it unless they are paid? Does it say that on that?
No, it does not, ma'am.
Then it doesn't exist. So, the truck was towed after you took possession of it?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it, Mr. Roja?
$400.
And when did you purchase it from him?
July 2009.
How long did you drive it before it was towed?
Well, I didn't drive it too often because it wasn't in my name.
How many months did, Mr. Roja? I don't want you to think of where I'm going with these questions. You will be much more successful, sir, as you can see with Mr. Marchetti. If you stop banging, you will be much more successful, Mr. Roja, if you just give me truthful answers. Because, sir, if you don't tell the truth, I'm going to make you look like a fool. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
How many months did you drive the car before it was towed?
Probably good 6 to 8 months.
So you got your $400 worth out of it?
Yes.
Perfect. And then it was towed?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what it was towed for?
For not being registered and not having the plates on the vehicle, yeah.
Now, you say, Mr. Roja, that you couldn't register this car despite the fact that you had paid $400 for it because it was encumbered by these tickets. Did you try to register the car?
I did. I went to the DMV.
Tell me what happened when you got there.
Well, went in there, told them I would like to register the car in my name. And
did you have a bill of sale with you?
I don't remember.
Did you have the title with you?
Yes.
And he had signed it over to you?
Yes.
Great, so far. Now, I believe they're told that they couldn't register the car because it was encumbered with tickets.
Right.
Did they tell you how much?
I don't remember if they did or not, no.
Was it a lot of money?
It was more than I had, yeah.
Did you call Mr. Marchetti, your stepbrother?
I did.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, I called him, let him know that I was upset because he didn't let me know that there were tickets on the vehicle when I bought the car from him, and that it hadn't been registered the previous year, so that was an additional fee that I couldn't afford.
Well, don't you have a registration that says whether the car is up to date in its registration?
Yes, but the original license plates had been stolen, so he was using replacement plates, and so...
Where did he get replacement plates from?
I guess from the DMV.
When did you get replacement plates from the DMV?
My plate was stolen in the summer.
Summer of what?
2008. Basically what happened is they used those plates for a crime. So they'd give me replacement plates because they didn't want me to keep that same plate number because it was used in a crime.
You sold him the car in July of 2009.
Yes.
Between January 2009 and July of 2009, where was the car?
It was with me until July. It was just
When
parked in front of my house.
You mean you just let it sit there?
Yeah. It's
Just
never
let it
used.
sit there.
Yeah.
And when you purchased the car in July of '09, sir, was it running?
Yes, it was.
Well, then somebody must have been using the car, Mr. Marchetti, because if you don't use a 15-year-old car for 6 months, chances are the batteries did.
Not this car. This car was a trooper.
Mr. Marchetti, pay your own bill. He paid $400 for a car that he couldn't register. I don't believe most of what you say, sir. I think you're fudging it. I think that there's a whole lot more to this story that I'm hearing, and I quite frankly don't have time for it. All I know is this. You sold a car that could not be registered. It was towed. That's your problem.
But if I have a bill of sale that says as is, why is it my responsibility?
Because I tried to explain something to you, Mr. Marchetti. You didn't have your listening ears on about 5 minutes ago. The as is part of your contract refers to the mechanical operation of the car, not whether it is encumbered by tickets. Do you understand now? Now, I did tell you that before, and I told it to you twice, and the rest of it, I don't answer.
So the ticket, so if there was one ticket, the bill of sale's out the door, and then it comes back on me?
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sarah Ali says she was punched in the face at Dan Dugan's nightclub. Sarah says the culprit was one of Dan's bouncers.
Miss Ali, it is your claim that you and a boyfriend were at defendant's club, and you were, without provocation, assaulted by an employee of his. And the defendant's position is that you were intoxicated, and that any injuries that you sustained as a result of your own intoxication. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
On May 9th of this year.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And what do you do?
I go to school and I do customer service.
What school do you go to?
OSU.
What is that?
Ohio State.
You a full-time student?
Part-time.
And you work part-time or full-time?
Part-time.
Who's your boyfriend? Is he here?
He's right there.
How old is he?
He's 22.
So you go to school also?
Yes.
Now, on the 9th of May, who were you at this club with?
I was with him.
Just
with
the
my
two of you?
boyfriend. Just two of us.
Had you been to this club before?
I've been there once before.
What time did you arrive there?
I arrived there about 11:40.
Where had you been before that evening?
Before that evening, I've been to the movies.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
And from the movies, you went to the club?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
Okay. At the time when we got there, we were just having fun, just around there. And then it got about 2 o'clock. It was time for everybody to go home. And we were about to leave, and then one of the security guards, he was going to open the back door for us to leave. And all of a sudden, I heard another security guard yelling behind us. He came and he said, "I know you two heard me calling you back there. Why are you ignoring me?" And my boyfriend nicely said that, "I'm sorry we didn't hear you, but we are leaving right now." And then he said, "No, you can't go because I know you were ignoring me and you need to tell me why you were ignoring me." And then he grabbed my arm. And when he grabbed my arm, I yanked my arm off him and told him, "Please don't ever touch me again." And as soon as I said that, he must have got mad, and he grabbed both of us and just pushed us against the wall real hard.
Shh, don't say anything.
When he pushes against the wall real hard, like it hurt my back. And then all of a sudden, it happened so fast that he hit me, and I must have dropped because I don't remember exactly what happened. I heard noises, but I couldn't see. I remember my boyfriend grabbing me. When he grabbed me, we were pushed out from the back door. And then we heard all noises, and I heard my boyfriend call the police and the ambulance for me. And then when the cops arrived, he asked us what happened. And when my boyfriend tried...
Can I see the police report?
Sure.
Is the security guard still in your employ?
No, ma'am, he's not.
What's his name?
I know him as Big Ant.
Big Ant?
Yes.
How long did he work for you?
It's perhaps a year or so.
Well, Mr. Dugan, you pay your employees on the books?
Sometimes.
Did you pay Big Ant on the books or off the books? Look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
On the books or off the books?
He was paid cash at the end of every night. I do not know if he reported it.
Well, I'm just asking you because if you paid him on the books, then you'd have to have a name other than Big Ant.
Yes, ma'am.
You thought this was going to be easy?
No, ma'am.
It's not going to be easy
Yes, ma'am.
because you weren't there that night.
No, I wasn't.
And you don't know what happened. hopefully...
I was home with my pregnant wife, who was 2 weeks away from giving birth, ma'am.
Listen, they're good for you.
Thank you.
And I hope everything turned out okay. But right now you have this gentleman who I assume wants to tell me what he saw because he was there that night. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll be up there in a second. I want you to make sure you got it all straight in your head. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any other reports that you have?
No, ma'am. I have some pictures of the incident that
I would like
happened
to see
my
them.
eye.
You were treated at the hospital for
my eye.
You had a laceration under your eye. According to the police, somebody socked you in the eye.
Right.
Is that the only injury that you sustained?
Yes.
Jones.
On what date did Big Ant terminate your employee?
As of that night, not heard from him since.
When you say as of that night, is that because he didn't return to work on the 10th? Or because you told him not to return to work on the 10th?
He left before the police arrived, or when the police arrived.
And you know that from this gentleman?
He and other employees.
Why did Big Ant take off?
Have no idea, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Jones, how long have you been in Mr. Dugan's employ?
On and off for about 5 years.
In what capacity?
I work with the bands that work there on a particular night, specifically Sunday nights.
What do you mean you work with the bands?
I'm also a member of the band also.
How many hours were you working that night?
I usually arrive at the club early, about 8 o'clock, and then the band usually starts performing anywhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night.
When you're playing with the band, do you have any alcohol?
No, I don't drink at all.
Tell me what you observed on the 9th of May.
At around 2:15, anywhere between 2:15 and 2:30, we asked that security start having people leave the bar because by law, everybody has to be out of the bar by 2:30. Also, what happens is the bar staff will not count any money until all the patrons are out of the bar. Well, they were walking the other direction.
They were walking in what direction?
Toward the side door, which is basically like an emergency exit. Big Ant is telling them, hey, you got to go out. We have to leave now. You have to go this way. Well, he said it 5 or 6 times. By the time he gets up to them, they get together. Some words were exchanged. I don't know exactly what was said, but all I know is I seen a hand come up, which looked like a female hand. He was scratched, and there was a ruckus in between her and her boyfriend and Big Ant. And it wasn't a punch, it was more or less like an open hand smack like that. But he's a big guy, so it may have caused some damage. But it looked like she attacked him first.
Well,
That's a lie.
No, that's
you
not
didn't,
true,
you,
Your
but
Honor.
Mr. Jones, you didn't actually see that.
Yes, I did. From where I was standing, what I could see, yeah.
Where you were standing, what you can see. Now, you're equivocating. The one thing you didn't equivocate about was you saw Big Ant hit her. It looked like with an open hand somewhere around her face. That you said you saw.
Yes.
Well, an open hand doesn't cause this kind of damage. Okay, let's go back to what you saw at the beginning. You said that you saw what appeared to be a female hand. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, going up like this, coming down at him.
Well, how many females were standing there, Mr. Jones?
It was only one.
So describe what a female hand looks like, Mr. Jones.
Well, I mean, the female hand is not nearly as big as a man's hand in most cases, is what I think. I could be
So
wrong.
there were 3 people there.
Right.
Is that right? Big Ant, this young lady, and her boyfriend.
Right.
So when you say to me, I saw what appeared to be a female hand, of necessity, it would have to be the plaintiff, unless her boyfriend has feminine hands. Is that right, Mr. Jones?
Could be, could not be.
Well, I mean, by a process of elimination, if there are 3 people standing there, unless, according to you, Big Ant scratched himself, sir, it would have to be one of the other 2 people.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I'm having too much fun. Now, did you wait around for the police to arrive, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I was still there.
Did you observe the ambulance?
I seen the ambulance pull up, yes.
So you knew that the police were treating this as a serious incident.
Yes.
Is that right?
Well, if they were called, yes.
And if they were treating this as a serious incident, clearly they were treating this young lady as the victim.
Right.
And certainly, based upon what you told me, you observed that this young lady was the aggressor in this incident. Is that right?
Yes, they both were.
No, 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 you didn't say both. I said who was the aggressor. Based upon what you told me, she was the aggressor. Is that right? And you would want to be a good citizen. You are a good citizen, aren't you, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you explain to me how the police report is silent with regard to your statement to the police that she was the aggressor and scratched him?
No policeman ever came and talked to me.
Well, do you think that the police have some sort of crystal ball? If you have information that this employee of the club that you know for a year was the real victim, and there were a lot of people there, you think it's a good idea to go up to the police and say, listen, I saw the whole thing. She scratched him first. Look at his face. Well, the police report doesn't say anything about Big Ant having any scratches on his face.
Well, he wasn't there to make a report.
Even more of a reason for someone who witnessed the whole process to go up to the police and say, listen, the guy took off, but he was really not responsible. She was responsible. She assaulted him. Isn't that right, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Can I make one statement?
Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Dugan?
I don't think so, Your
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $3,000. That's all.
Glass.
With glass. Okay. So now you're outside. You vandalized his car. Go.
All right. So after he vandalized my car.
And you saw him do that?
Yes. I looked out the window because since we were still friends, I looked out the window because he was waiting on the ride to pick him up. So I'm putting on my clothes or whatever. I want to approach him. By this time, I got my clothes on, ready to leave the house. He was gone. On my way home to drive home, I had to circle around. I saw him. He was in front of, I'm not sure the name of the restaurant. I pulled over, and he was still drunk.
Who were you with?
My sister.
You were with your sister and the baby that she's trying to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I get out the car. So I see he has a beer bottle in his hand.
Why don't you get back into the car?
Because I wanted to talk to him about my truck.
Why? If you know he's drunk, and if you just saw him commit a crime, why in the world would you stop your car with your sister and the baby in the car instead of just taking her home, calling the police, say, I just saw him vandalize my truck?
Because I didn't want to involve the police because he was my friend.
Then why didn't you let it go until the next day?
I could have,
when he was
but
sober.
It was on my chest, and I wanted
because
to tell
you
him.
wanted to get it off your chest.
I wanted to talk to him.
Because you wanted to get it off your chest. You wanted to get it off your chest with somebody who you know is drunk, who had already left the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was in harm's way anymore.
Okay.
Except when you stopped the truck and got out. And you saw a beer bottle in his hand. So what did you have in your hand?
After I saw the beer bottle,
what did you have in your hand?
What do you call that? A lug wrench is what I had. But he didn't know I had it at all.
You had a lug wrench in your hand.
No, actually it was in my pocket. Let's make it correct.
Now, you're driving along, you see him in a restaurant.
He was outside at that time.
Outside the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You stop the truck. When do you see the bottle in his hand?
When I stopped the truck.
When did you get the lug wrench?
After I saw the bottle.
Where did you have to go to get it?
My trunk.
Back or front?
The back.
So you had to get out of your truck, go in the back, get the weapon, and then go out to talk to him. Right?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened, Mr. Brooks.
Actually, I wasn't walking around. I was in the restaurant on the phone with my best friend that was switching phone calls between me and the plaintiff. He called me and let me know that the plaintiff was looking for me. I was sitting in the restaurant waiting for a ride to come and get me because I'm hurt. And the plaintiff comes inside the restaurant while I'm sitting down and hits me in the head. And it wasn't a lung wrench. I think it was a tire crowbar, tire gauge. And it wasn't small. It's big. I have a picture of it.
I'd like to see it.
It's a lug wrench.
Where did you get this picture from?
At the end of the incident, the police did not want to arrest nobody. They took the whole situation, so they gave that to my best friend.
Do you have a police report?
No.
Do you have a police report?
No.
Did you have any medical treatment?
I went home. My aunt, who was a certified nurse, cleaned me up. And
did you take any photographs of what you looked like? Why not?
Because I just wanted to go home. I was messed up, and I just wanted to go home, lay down.
So what did you do when you finally confronted him, Mr. Watson?
I came to confront him while he had this beer bottle in his hand. It was outside. We went inside the restaurant. I tried to talk to him. He was swinging the beer bottle at my head. He swung it maybe about 2 or 3 times. The last time he swung it, launched it, and it fell on the ground and shattered. At that point in time, that's when I ran up.
Ran up what?
I ran up on him.
And what'd you do?
I hit him.
Yeah. You hurt him. with a weapon that you secured to do just that.
I didn't want to
Jane.
hurt him. The thing was, I had that for my protection.
No, no, no. Your protection was your car that should have kept running and kept going until you dropped your sister and the baby off. So you take care of your own car, Mr. Watson.
For what?
For what? Because
know.
I'm awarding him on his assault charge the exact same amount as he would have paid you to fix your car. That's why. He's got a counterclaim for assault. Do you understand?
I understand that, but he vandalized my vehicle.
That's absolutely right. And you assaulted him with a tire iron.
Wait a minute. Because he vandalized my car before the fact of that happened.
Oh, absolutely right.
So if
he absolutely did. And you would have absolutely been successful in securing a new paint job on your car, without question, if you hadn't assaulted him because you were angry. She started all of it. She really started all of it. And if you think that I believe that she didn't have anything to drink that night, you're mistaken. She started it because everything was sort of cool. All she had to do was go home. She confronted him.
Okay.
With an attitude, because you and I both know this is your sister. She does have attitude. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
So you take care of your own car, sir, because the exact same amount that I would have awarded you on your complaint, I'm awarding him on his counterclaim. Because you know you had no right to vandalize his car, correct?
Correct.
Goodbye. I leave you both where I found you.
27-year-old Tina Soundtress is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old Alvaro Macias, for the cost of a digital camera and the accessories. Tina says Alvaro's neglect caused the camera to be stolen.
Miss Soundtress, Mr. Macias used to be your boyfriend, then you broke up, then he was your friend, and according to your complaint, you allowed him to borrow a camera of yours.
Correct.
And unfortunately, the camera was lost or stolen while it was in his possession. You want a new camera.
Right.
Mr. Macias says, I offered her a camera, the same kind of camera that she had. She didn't want that. She wants a different model that's twice as expensive as the one that I borrowed. Is that true?
They don't make the same model as the camera anymore that I
Well,
had.
tell me about the camera that you let him borrow, because clearly he's responsible. The only issue is, what is he responsible for?
Well, I loaned him the camera, a lens, the case, and the memory card.
How much did you pay for it when you purchased it?
It was around $1,200.
You have the receipt?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it.
That's for the camera, and this is for the case. They don't make the same model anymore.
So?
So I wouldn't be able to get the camera, so I feel that I should be allowed the model that replaces my camera.
No, darling. No. Let us say that he borrowed your 1987 Chevy Camaro, and he damaged the car so that you couldn't drive it. But they don't make a 1987 Chevy Camaro anymore. You don't get a 2006 Chevy. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Does that make it simple for you? Good. Okay, so now I'll hear you.
I do a lot of different things.
I'm not interested in what. In the fact that she had a relatively new camera. She lent it to you, either through your own negligence, because if the camera was in your possession at all times, it wouldn't have gotten stolen and it wouldn't have gotten lost.
Yes.
All right. Now, you're not responsible to buy her a brand new Cadillac. You're responsible to replace it or give her the money that she spent for it.
But let me explain to you what happened.
I don't care what happened.
Does it matter what she said to me?
No. She's suing you. You're going to tell me she said, forget it, I don't use it anymore?
Yes.
I don't care. Now, she changed her mind. That's what women do. They change her mind. Men don't ask for directions. Women change their mind.
I work for a newspaper, and I also do a radio show. Me and my business partner went to New York for a conference, all right? It's a Latin rap conference. She's a fan of the music.
I don't care. I don't care. She bought the camera with her own money, and you lost it. Now you have to replace it.
And I did. I worked for a newspaper. We went over there to take all these pictures. I told him, watch the camera. It was the end of an artist showcase. And I went to get all this other stuff.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in how it got stolen and how it got lost. It's your responsibility. How many times do I have to say that?
Okay, but I did. When I got back, I told her what happened, okay? I said, let me figure something out, because it's a lot of money. That's an expensive camera. I had told her, don't get that camera, because it's too expensive, okay? But anyways, that's not the point. I told her I'd figure
Listen to me! Just tell me things that are the point. It's very late and I'm hungry. It's lunchtime.
All right.
So I want you to just tell me the point.
All right, the newspaper I work for, I managed to get them to give me this camera. I have the same exact camera at the newspaper. I talked to them.
Just a minute.
The same exact model.
Shh, listen to me. You have a brand new, same camera that she purchased. Is that what you're telling me?
It's not brand new.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,225. That's all. Get out.
26-year-old Lauren Wilson is suing former roommate Natasha Safai for destroying her clothes and other belongings. She is also seeking the return of 1 month's rent.
Miss Wilson, the defendant was a friend of yours, and there came a time, sometime last year, that she invited you to come down to Florida to live with her. For whatever reason, you decided to take her up on that offer and move to Florida from where?
Salisbury, Maryland.
The understanding, according to you, was that the first month she would forgive the rent,
right,
and then you would be able to get a job, start paying your share of the expenses. According to you, you got down to Florida in November.
It was the first week in November, yes.
And according to you, at some point in November, you gave her a check for $175.
No, it was cash.
Cash. Mm-hmm. For $175 for next month's expenses.
In anticipation of December's rent, yes.
When did you give that to her?
I think it was about the 11th or the 12th of November.
Is that correct, Ms. Safari?
Yes.
Good. So mid-month, you gave her rent towards December.
Right.
And then you had a falling out. When was the falling out?
It was pretty much steadily. We were just bickering all the time.
What was the date she told you to leave?
It was the 16th of November.
And at that time, she told you that you had 24 hours to get your stuff out.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you claimed that when you finally were able to get all of your stuff, some had been destroyed.
Yes, a lot of it.
Had been destroyed, and some electrical items that you brought had been placed outside on the front porch, and by the time you got to get them, they were gone.
Right.
Ms. Safai says that she did not destroy your property, and she put out the property because you did not come within 24 hours to get your property. She wasn't keeping it in the house, aside from the fact that she thought you were staying home all day fooling around with her boyfriend.
Right.
Which is why you told her to leave.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes.
What made you think she was fooling around with your boyfriend, Miss Safai?
Because a roommate that I had staying there that was getting ready to move out was also home during the day, and she was informing me that Lauren and my ex-boyfriend were spending a lot of time together during the day in the room. They were also making phone calls back and forth to each other.
So did you confront your boyfriend?
Yes, I did.
What did he say?
He said that it wasn't true. But I trust the girl that, had been my roommate.
So how long did you keep the boyfriend after you had her leave?
A few months. We're no longer together.
Why didn't you kick him out?
He wasn't living with me.
Kick him out of your life is my question. Why kick her out? Why not kick him out?
I did eventually, just not at the same time.
Why? Because a good man nowadays is hard to find? What is it? Well, let me tell you this, Miss Safai. You cannot give her 24 hours to get out of your house. She gave you $175, which according to both of you went towards rent. She then becomes a tenant, whether she's on the lease or not. She's your tenant. And unless there is some action that is dangerous to your health and welfare that she's doing in the house, like selling drugs out of your house, inviting people over there that are destroying your property, you don't have the prerogative to say to her, under the law, you have to get out immediately. So that's one thing. So A, you have to return to her the $175. B, you put her stuff out on the porch. What did you put out on the porch?
I put her clothes and all the rest of her stereo system, all the stuff that she had brought, I put outside.
You can't do that.
Well, I didn't destroy her stuff like that. I have my witness that was with me when I put the stuff outside, and it did not look like that when I put it outside.
Well, then you didn't take good enough care of it, madam, because then somebody else did it, but it's your fault. You can't put her stuff outside and place her stuff in a position of either being stolen or destroyed or vandalized by other people. You can't do that. So I don't care what your witness says. Once you put that stuff out, having no right to put that stuff out because she's a tenant in your apartment, you are responsible for anything that happens to it. That's it. It's not a hard case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $383. That's all.
$383?
$1,383.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're right.
Harriet Fleischer is suing her former tenant, Robert McWhorter, for rent and for running up her phone bill with sex calls.
Ms. Fleischer, do you live in a private house or an apartment?
Private house.
How long have you lived there?
18 and a half years.
Who do you live with?
Currently I have one tenant.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Fleischer?
I'm a computer consultant.
How long have you been doing that kind of work?
Far too long. 9 and a half, 10 years.
This is your complaint. You rented a room to Mr. McWater, who was a friend of yours and going through some difficult times. You said that you would allow him to come and stay in your home, $100 a week, and you claim he left owing you some rent.
That's
which
correct.
is really not what you're complaining about, because he acknowledges that he owes a couple of $100 in rent. You claim that he made over $2,000 in 1-900 sex calls on your phone.
That's correct.
Mr. McWater said, I didn't do that. When were you living with Miss Fleischer and Mr. McWater?
Approximately right before Thanksgiving till the 23rd of December.
So maybe November the 20th
Yeah, it was a Saturday when I moved in.
to
So
December what?
23rd.
You have a copy of your phone bill?
I do. I have a
I'd
copy.
like to take a look at it, please.
I had spoke to Mrs. Fleischer when I returned from my trip, and she verbally told me over the phone, I took her word for it, I never physically saw the bill myself, that it was between 900 and 1,000.
Look at me. What difference does it make how it was 900 and 1,000? I read your answer, Mr. McWater. Your answer says, I didn't make those calls and I don't know who did. So is now what you're telling me, sir, that you did make these calls, you just didn't know the extent of the bill. Is that what
This
you're
is
telling
correct.
me?
I'm
All right. Well, that's a little different from your answer. I know that sometimes I can be a little intimidating. That's a very good thing. So I don't have to go through these bills and humiliate you to see how long you stood on the line with these people, probably many of whom, and making out that they're women. Go find a nice girl, Mr. McWater. Get your own phone.
May I interject here, Your Honor?
Oh, if you have to.
Robert told me that he had his own phone. When we made arrangements for his moving in...
Miss Fleischer, doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
His story now, after he took a look at this kind face of mine, was, I acknowledge I made the phone calls, that I was stupid, right?
Varies.
I was unthinking, right? Right? I'm dying to pay you and get out of here because I'm humiliated. And don't humiliate me anymore.
Yes, Your Honor.
It could all be so easy.
There are guys pretending to be women?
Yeah, I saw that in a movie once. You know, there were guys that just raise their voice and they sit there and they make other people feel foolish. It was in some Jack Lemmon movie or something. Remember Jack Lemmon?
Remember Jack Lemmon?
Most people don't
yeah.
remember Jack Lemmon. I remember Jack Lemmon.
May I say something, Your Honor?
What?
I have explained to Mrs. Fleischer that I'm an alcoholic and I did have gone through several blackout stages. That's why. No, I'm putting it on the table.
Listen,
that this is,
gotcha. I understand.
And this is part of my recovery is to make amends for whatever damages I
So
have
why
done
did you
in
have
the
to
past.
come here? Why couldn't you tell her that outside?
I attempted to. I didn't know that I was even actually have been taken to court until.
Well, where did you think you were going? To Never Never Land today?
No.
How much do you owe for rent?
I believe it would be between $100 and $200.
He left owing $200 in rent.
Okay.
On a week-to-week, there's a 1 week, as I understand it, a 1 week...
There's a 1 week nothing. Don't go crazy.
Okay.
He owes you $2,652.
Okay,
Should have taken care of this before you came to court, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Your
Thank
Honor?
you very much. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
25-year-old Rayanne Fisher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brandon Wolf, for writing a bad check on a shared bank account.
Miss Fisher, this young man used to be your boyfriend, and you actually lived together. You made the mistake, because you didn't listen to Mother, of opening up a joint bank account with him while you were living together. And after you broke up, he wrote out a check. There was no money in the account, but there was evidently one of those privileges that allows you to write checks even though you don't have money in the account, and you were forced to pay the check because there was no money in the account. And you want him to pay the money back, plus whatever fees were charged to you. Mr. Wolf has an interesting defense and an interesting counterclaim. First, let's discover when you broke up. Date.
The date was July 11th of 06.
And when did you write out this check?
I don't actually have the actual date of it.
But I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do. July 16th of 06.
After the bloom was off the rose, right? And at the time, Mr. Wolf, were you aware of the fact that there was no money in the account?
Yes, I was.
So tell me why you did that, sir.
I
First tell me why you did it. Then tell me why you don't think you're responsible to pay her back the money for it. And then we'll get to your counterclaim.
Okay. I set up with the finance company to where it was a post-dated check.
For what?
For a down payment on my Jeep.
So you gave the finance company a post-dated check.
Yes.
And?
And I had plans on putting the money in the account within the 2 weeks of my next paycheck.
Yes.
By that time, she had already paid this off.
Well, they had to have deposited the check. What do you mean, Mr. Wolf? I want you to try to clear out the fuzzies in your brain. Now, if you had put the money in the account before they cashed the check, there would be no problem. She wouldn't have known anything, right? So you didn't put the money in the account.
No.
Or the finance company cashed the check before they were supposed to.
Correct.
Well, which one is it? I gave you two choices. They can't be both correct.
They actually cashed the check before the post date.
Well, so the bank probably shouldn't have done that, right?
Right.
But you had the money.
Right. It was a misunderstanding.
Fine. So why didn't you give Miss Fisher back the money? Since you had the money, let me give it to you this way. You had the money. That's what you told me.
Right.
You were going to put it in the bank.
Correct.
Your finance company, for your truck, deposited the check early. That's what you're telling me.
Correct.
But you had the money. What's your first name?
Rayanne.
Say to Rayanne, Rayanne, I'm sorry, this was all a misunderstanding. I have the money. I'm going to give you back whole. Why didn't you give her back the money?
Well, what happened is on my Jeep, I ended up getting it repoed from me.
What month?
It was August, I think.
So we're talking about now in July. July, you had the money
Right.
to pay the down payment, so why didn't you just give it to Rayanne, who paid the overdraft protection on the truck?
I never asked her to pay it.
Who cares? You had it. Why didn't you take care of it?
I didn't feel I had to.
Standing here today, do I change your mind, sir?
No.
Well, then you're an idiot. You the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance.
Fiance. I think twice about making babies with him. Listen! Your debt, your problem. You had the money.
Right.
I also don't believe that a finance company takes a post-dated check and allows you to take a car. That is a lot of who shot John. So, now that I've already determined that you owe her the money, how much money does he owe you?
$592.90.
$592.92. That's what you owe her. Now I am prepared, sir, to listen to your counterclaim.
What happened is I was in the hospital for a week, and one of my payments fell through on my Jeep.
Another payment fell through.
Yes.
Like an accident looking to happen.
They sent a tow truck to her house.
To whose house?
Rand's house.
Why would they think it's at her house?
Because it was registered under the address.
So the tow truck came to the house and said, where's the truck? Go ahead.
She brought the tow truck over to my sister's house, had it towed, sat in...
No. She didn't have anything towed.
Oh. She brought the tow truck over to my sister's
They
house.
said, where is this car?
Right.
And she said, it's not here. Maybe it's at his sister's house. I'll show you where that is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So
correct. She sat in the parking lot also, took pictures, sent them to me on my phone, and also put them up on her MySpace page.
So what? So what?
I didn't feel that was right.
Maybe she would have felt more kindly if she wasn't out $600 for your truck while you're fooling around with your new fiancé. Do you understand? One
Yes,
good
ma'am.
turn deserves another. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $592.92. Thank you.
Bodies excused. You may step out.
Carpenter Jeffrey Castleberry is suing his former boss, Megan Watson, for non-payment of services rendered. Megan says Jeffrey's work was substandard.
Mr. Castleberry, you worked for the defendant in her construction business. You quit over some social problem that you had. It seems that you were dating her sister. According to you, got into some sort of a kerfuffle with her sister and decided it would be best if you didn't work with her anymore. So you quit. And you claim at the time that you quit, you were owed wages. Miss Watson seems to acknowledge that you were owed wages, but she said that you took some tools that belonged to her and didn't return them, but primarily that she went and examined the work that you had done and found it to be substandard, and she had to arrange to have that work done by somebody else, so she doesn't owe you any money. And she's counterclaiming for the tools and having to have the work redone. It's a little nonsense. Not the tools necessarily. The work we've done is nonsense. When did he start to work for you?
About the middle of March of 2007.
And what was the financial arrangement that you had with him?
He got paid on the jobs once I got paid on the jobs. It was
Is
a
that how-
percentage of each job.
Is that how you were paid, sir? A percentage of each job?
I don't know if it's a percentage. It was a set rate for each job. When she was paid for it, she would write me a check and she would attach one of these pay statements, which has the check number, the date, how much I was paid, which job it was, and what I did. And each time she gave, she would give, this was the first.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Just a second.
Okay. She gave me that money to hold for her because she couldn't trust herself to handle her money. She actually got, I think, $102,000 from selling her home. She spent all of that money on attorney fees, all of it, trying to get custody of the 5 children that she doesn't have custody of. And as you can see, she's having yet a 6th child.
So what you're telling me is this wasn't money she gave to you.
This was not money she gave me.
This is money she gave to you to hold for her.
To hold for her.
Did you ever give it back?
Absolutely. Every dime of it, and then some.
That's absolutely not true. If I needed her to hold my money, I would have given her the $84,000 she needed.
Maybe you spent it.
No, I actually
Yeah, you did.
have some of it left.
Oh, right.
Miss Wickham, you have 5 kids?
I do.
Where are they?
2 of them reside with their father. We have joint custody, and my younger 3 are with their father.
So there are 2 separate fathers?
Correct.
And who is the father of this baby?
The father of my younger 3, my husband.
But you're not living together?
No.
How long haven't you lived together?
Approximately 5 months.
They've never lived together.
Do you ever have a drug problem, Miss Wickham?
Never.
Where do you spend all your money?
I've been going to school for the last 4 years, and I have 5 kids.
Well, right now you don't have custody of any of your children.
It's only been 5 months prior
That's
to
a
that.
long time not to have custody of your children.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I do have custody of my older 2.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
They live with their father.
They're with me 42%. With him during the week, me weekends, and half of vacation and Wednesdays.
All right, Miss Francis. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on here that I don't know about. I probably don't care to know about with regard to this, the facts of this case. Just trying to get a sense of where this $27,000 went.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Because
Go
I
ahead.
gave it all back to her.
Go ahead.
When she was living in my house when she got her kids back, it was almost 2 years. We fought with CPS to get her children back.
All right, so the children were taken by the state.
Yes. And then she got them back in, I think, July of 2008. And my sister, which is her mother, and I did everything we could to help her, to support her. Her mother finally in September threw her out. She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Tell me about this tuition
Okay.
loan.
She was collecting grants from school on a regular basis, and I have the school printout. She had to pay back $3,783 to the school because the foster parent called the school and told them that she had lied.
No, you can't tell me what the
okay.
foster parent says. She had to pay back $3,780.
Right. And she didn't have it. So she came and asked me if she could borrow it. She asked me, had been asking for about a week. And finally, I just got so fed up, I just said, oh, credit card, but you're going to make the payment. She agreed. She says, if I pay them back $3,720, whatever it is, $83 now, in December, on December 31st, I will get $7,200.
You mean from financial aid?
Right, for going to school. So I agreed to do it so she could continue going to school. She wants to be a lawyer, and she's already in a good position to do that because she's a fabulous liar. Therefore, I lent her the money. Okay. The next day, she told me, that night actually, she told me to go to, in my own home. I'm letting her and her 3 children live with me. And she tells me she's very disrespectful. So I said, call the school. I'm not doing this, Tammy. I'm going to tell them I'm not paying the money. You are on your own. You figure it out. I called the school, and the lady at the financial...
Don't tell me what anybody said. Did you give her $3,780?
I paid the school tuition back, yes.
Okay. What else did you pay for her?
In October, because I couldn't live with her anymore, so I said, you got to go. She left my home. She called me the next day, and I said, where did you stay? She said, we slept in the park. Her and her 3 children in the park all night in the cold. It was in December, and it broke my heart. So she went to welfare, and they gave her vouchers to stay in motels, I guess, for a couple of weeks. But she came calling me, pleading again, Laura, please, can you help me? I can't rent an apartment in my name because I have bad credit, but can you please rent an apartment for me? And because Child Protective Services was coming to check on the residents to see that she had sufficient housing for the children. Not for her, Your Honor, but for the children. I did it. I went up to Victorville and I rented an apartment for her and the kids. And it was okay the first month. Thank you.
Where did you expect her to get money?
This is what she said. I'm going to get $787 a month from welfare. I'm going to get $1,900 child support from the father of the 2 older kids. And I get $400 and some odd of food stamps every month. I'm going to sell that to my friend Teresa, you know, the food stamps, not feed the kids, sell the food stamps for cash, and I can pay the rent. So I said, okay, one more time. So I did that, and that was October 14th, the day that the social worker was coming to check to see if she had sufficient housing for the children. And she came, and there was no furniture there, but she saw that it was a nice apartment. So that was good. And then December 5th, she was arrested again for leaving the children by themselves at 10 o'clock at night while she went to work at a bar from 10 to 2 in the morning.
How old are the children?
11 was the oldest, 9. The youngest was 6 months old, an infant. 3 under 3.5 years old.
What does the father do, the father of the 3 youngest children?
Well, he was working at somewhere, but she got him fired. He's not working now. He's taking care of the kids on unemployment, I believe.
And who does he live with?
His sister.
You see the children?
Yes.
You see them at your house?
No, we go wherever we have to go to see them. And he's very amenable. We and the kids get along great. They love us.
What about their grandmother? Do they see their grandmother?
Yes, they do.
You go together or
Yes.
separately?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, so she paid rent for a while, and how much rent did she not pay?
In December, she gave them a bad check, so they called me because, of course, I'm the contact, and said that now the rent was $990.
How much rent did you pay on her behalf?
$1,087 and some change.
How many months?
That was in December. Then she paid. She got out of jail and gave the lawyer all the money she was supposed to give me back for the school, the $3,700, and I was upset. But anyway, I had to pay it because it was in my name. So then again in March, she came to my house and says, I don't have the rent. You pretty much have to pay it because it's in your name. So you really don't have much of a choice, Laura, okay? I hated that, but I did it. I mean, it was the truth. It was in my name, so I paid it. She told me on March 20th she would get another $5,000 from school that she would give me. And she got another $5,000 from school, and I didn't get a dime of it. And then she got $2,900 for filing her income tax, and I didn't get a dime of that either. And
okay, got it. Okay, Ms. Wickham, I'll hear you.
I lived with my aunt while I was pregnant with my youngest for 9 months, and the agreement was I wanted to finish my last semester at school. She was going to pay my financial aid instead of paying me to work for her.
What kind of work did you do?
Real estate assistant. She's a realtor.
When you were living with her, how much rent did you pay her?
I paid $300 here and there, but she would never take my money.
How much rent did you pay her every month?
We had no agreement.
The answer is nothing. How much did you pay her towards utilities?
I would give her $300. I was working here and there.
How much did you? I thought you were working for her in real estate.
I was, but I also worked as a waitress Friday and Saturday nights.
And how much did you pay her to maintain the food in the house?
I bought my own food and also bought food for her.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not. Nonsense. Did you finish school?
I did, just recently.
Did you graduate?
I'm going to graduate this semester. I'll be walking.
Now, I don't know what your problems are. Clearly you have some. If you have an aunt who loves you and has been supportive, and you have a mother who loves you and has tried to be supportive, and these 2 women in your life have had it with you up to here, you have to acknowledge at some point that you're doing something wrong. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that you're doing wrong is somebody who doesn't have another one.
That's the issue. That's why they're upset. Yes.
Hey.
My aunt told me in an email here if I had another child, and she emailed this to my husband, who she dislikes, that if we had another child, she would do everything in her power to make sure none of us ever saw any of our 5 kids again.
I want to tell you something. She's absolutely right. I don't understand except that the laws in this country, unfortunately, don't always protect children. Because if I were in charge of your children, and if I didn't have the law as a constraint, I don't think that you or your husband, who you don't live with, is an appropriate caretaker for your children. Because your children have been all over the globe. Your children were taken away and were in foster care. They were in your custody. You left them alone. An 11-year-old with a 6-month-old. And where was the father all this time? Where was his head? Somewhere where it's very, very dark, because he knows, listen, she can't take care of 5 children, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a 6th. Ridiculous. You got to find some other hobby. You got to find some other hobby. And evidently school wasn't enough. Should have had school and work and been so busy that you didn't have time to make number 6. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about it, but I'm telling you, I would watch very carefully, because there's something not right in the wheels up there. And I don't know about the fathers of these children, because I haven't met them, but certainly these children have not gotten the childhood that they were entitled to, which was a certain sense of continuity and living in the same place and not living in a park and not living alone and not living without furniture and living with a father and living with a mother and living with an aunt. Come on, grow up. First way to grow up is to acknowledge what you owe, and you owe your aunt $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Shelby Crowther is suing her neighbor, 24-year-old Cody Moore, for vet bills. Shelby says Cody's 6-year-old son, Caden, threw her dog in the air and broke his leg.
According to your complaint, Miss Moore's little boy, this 6-year-old, was in your backyard where your dog was playing. He was invited over by your son, who is a couple of years older. How old are you?
8.
Stand up next to your mother. I have a few questions for you. Tell me your name.
My name's Cody.
Cody, do you know this little boy's name?
No.
What's your name?
Caden Moore. He does know my name.
Caden Moore.
Yeah, when we were at daycare.
Okay. Is he your neighbor?
Yes.
Remember that day when your dog got injured? Say yes. You remember?
Yes.
I have to answer my questions. Were you playing in the backyard?
Yes.
Did you invite him to come over in your backyard? No. Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes, but I put it through the fence.
Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes.
And did he take the lollipop?
Yes.
Did he come around in your backyard?
No.
He was never in your backyard?
Yes, but...
How did he get there?
Climbed the fence.
And what happened when he got there?
We started playing for a little, then he picked him up and threw him up in the air and broke his leg.
What did you say to him when he did that?
Nothing.
What did you do?
I picked up Gizmo.
And where did he go?
My mom told him to go back home.
And he did. And you took your dog Gizmo to the doctor?
Correct.
And he had a broken leg?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you want Miss Moore to pay for the vet bills?
Correct.
I'm listening.
I did not become aware of the situation until she had come over to my house to let me know what was going on. I talked to my son, and he said that her son told him that if he'd climb the fence, that he would give him a sucker and they could play.
So he's over in the backyard?
Mm-hmm. And my son did say that he picked up the dog, that her son asked him to put the dog down, and my son did that. However, he did not throw her dog at
Well, how do you
all.
think the leg got broken?
I believe that he did drop her dog. A dog that weighs 4 pounds has a leg like a toothpick, so I'm sure it did break. That's,
Okay.
I believe that.
So either way, whether he dropped him or threw him.
I offered to pay the bills. I gave her my cell phone number. I asked her to please call me when the dog was done so that I knew what was going on. She's my new neighbor. I just moved in.
So what was the problem?
The problem started when she tried to press criminal charges on my child.
No,
And
what
that's actually
happened-
in the police report that I have with me. She had told the police a completely fabricated story. The police
Well,
came...
what did you do after the dog? You took the dog to the vet.
After I picked the dog up, went in the house, and immediately went over to her house. My husband held the dog for me. I went over to her house and explained to her what had happened. She told me that's not possible. Her son was in his bedroom, and that is not true. He was just in my backyard, and I told him to go home.
Okay, well, maybe she didn't know that.
We went into the backyard. He wasn't in there, so he was in the garage. And she asked him, and he said yes, he did pick the dog up and drop the dog.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, you're going to be responsible for these vet bills. I said, I don't have the money. She looked at me and said, well, I'm a single mom, so maybe it's best to put the dog to sleep and I will buy you a new one. I immediately looked at her and said, that's not how this works. This is my dog. I mean, he's my baby. We're not going to put him to sleep.
Did you go over there, Miss Crowther, angry?
No, I did not raise my voice at her.
You don't have to raise your voice.
I was upset. I was bawling.
Okay.
I was upset.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine that you were upset, and I can imagine that you were not calm when you spoke to her. You may not have been screaming at her. You may not have been cursing at her. I don't know. But I assume, based upon just the way you phrased it to me today, that you did not go over there in a neighborly-like way.
Right.
Well, that was wrong. This is not something that's done maliciously.
Right.
So then you should have taken it down a notch. Right?
Right.
You owe her an apology.
I'm sorry if I upset you.
You should have taken it down a notch. She didn't do anything.
Right. I didn't become enraged until she told me to put my dog to sleep.
Enraged is a relative term. If you went over there and you say, gee, that was just a real bad accident, I think that your little boy was responsible for my dog's broken leg. Right. You know, I'm going to take the dog to the vet. You know, we're going to be able to handle this. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is to go over there with screaming mimis on, you know, because your dog is injured. I got it. But I think, at least with her, you overreacted. She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
Well, the problem is...
She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
$364.25.
That's a hefty bill for her to pay, but if she said she would pay it, it's her responsibility and she's going to take care of it. Did you call the police?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was informed that I had to have a police case number in order to file a civil claim in court.
Well, I don't know who's giving you legal advice. Certainly not any reputable person I know. You don't need a police report in order to file a small claims case.
I don't understand if I said I would pay it, why she would have to file a small claims case.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
She was only going to pay the initial bill. She told me she would not pay to have the cast removed. She flat told me, I'm only going to pay the $299. And I says, what about the remaining cost? She told me, too bad, I've talked to an attorney and you're not getting any more than that.
Actually, she told me she wanted to take her dog to the vet weekly for the next 6 months, and she wanted me to pay for that.
The vet required that he come in every week to have the cast looked at so that it didn't get infected or anything happen.
The whole bill was $364.25. Judgment for the plaintiff, $364.25. When you have a new neighbor, you try to handle things reasonably. She seems like a nice lady. Now you're at odds with each other and you share a backyard. That's terrible. And you have two kids who would probably play very nicely together. You know, they're two nice little boys. See if you can go have a cup of coffee together. It would probably be a very good idea. You're going to live there for a long time?
Plan to.
All right, so you got off to a bad start. See if you can make it better.
Okay.
You'll be happier. That's all.
Thank you.
24-year-old Jeffrey Gibbons is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Sierra Delgado, for a loan to put a down payment on a new apartment.
Mr. Gibbons, it is your claim that you made a loan to Miss Delgado in the amount of $700. She was a friend of yours. Miss Delgado says that she accepted the $700 from you because she needed some money and it was a gift. How long do you know her?
Your Honor, I have known Miss Delgado since January. I met her at Bartending Academy, and I think that the gift part of that whole story that you just gave me is an utter fabrication.
You have a copy of your check?
Yes, Your Honor. A copy of the check and the date when it...
I'm student, AVC.
Stay there. Perhaps forever. Go for continuing education. You have an estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the estimate?
From Scorty's Auto Collision.
What is the
estimate?
estimate?
For $995.
Not from whom? Who, what, when?
Sorry,
when?
$995.
Mr. Juarez, you did the wrong thing. You made a mistake. You accused somebody of being a thief. When they chose not to play along with you, you started an argument. Your argument resulted in this young man's car being damaged by you. Because when you pushed him, the natural consequence of your pushing him was him falling into the car. Now, you didn't intend to damage the car. You intended to damage him. Unfortunately, the car got damaged. You're just lucky he didn't get damaged as well, because then I would have wiped up the floor with you. And so would the police department. If you happen to be built like you are, you have to use your strength and your girth wisely, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Not like an idiot.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $995. That's all.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helzer stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother, Lori, are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
You are suing Mrs. Hessler because her 16-year-old daughter, according to you, stood you up for the prom.
Yes.
For your senior prom. And you had a lot of expenses, and you believe that her mother is responsible for her standing you up.
No, not necessarily, Your Honor. I don't
Well,
feel
she's
that...
responsible because you can't sue her daughter, so you have to sue her mother. Ms. Hessler says that her daughter did not stand you up, that you didn't should, but she has a substantial counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that since you believed you were stood up for the prom, you have embarked upon a course of conduct that amounts to harassment and defamation of her daughter's character, which forced her to leave school because she flunked all of her finals, and it became a catastrophe, and she has a counterclaim. When did you invite Dana to the prom?
About May 20th.
Did you do it in person?
No, ma'am. I was introduced to her through a friend of mine. It was her best friend, and I was on the internet, and she instant messaged me. She sent me a message, and...
Who did?
Diana.
Diana sent you a message.
Right.
Saying what?
Just starting a conversation, just, hi, my name is Diana, something to that effect.
So you didn't ask her to the prom?
I did. Eventually I did.
In person or over the internet?
Over the internet and in person.
Is that right?
I don't remember him asking me in person to prom, no.
How do you believe he asked you to the prom?
Over the internet, we were discussing the fact that he needed to date, and he said, you know, do you want to go with me, basically? And, I said,
and what did you say?
I said, okay.
You said, okay, so now you had a date. And you knew when you go to the same school?
Yes.
So you knew when the prom was?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to buy, you rented a tux?
No, I bought a tux.
Bought a tux. Figure stopped growing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Buy tickets?
Yes, Your Honor.
Rented a car?
No. I was gonna drive.
Okay. Tux, tickets. What else?
I also had dinner reservations. There was no fee for making the reservations, but there was for canceling reservations.
And what were all your expenses?
My expenses totaled to be, I believe, about $500 and some odd dollars.
Now, did you end up going to the prom, Mr. Banks?
No, ma'am.
Did not?
No.
Tell me what happened. What was the date of the prom?
Saturday, June 4th.
And just prior to June 4th, when had you last spoken with Diana?
June 3rd.
Where did you speak to her?
I spoke with her at school.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I informed her that I'd be getting everything ready. And
did she tell you what color her dress was?
Yes, it was pink.
Did she tell you what kind of flowers she liked?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the flowers?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of flowers did you get?
I got a bouquet of roses, and I got a corsage and a hand thing. I don't know.
The whole 9 yards?
The whole 9.
Did you tell her what time you'd pick her up?
Yes, Your Honor. I told her I'd be there to pick her up at 4.
So what happened, Mr. Banks?
Saturday, I had been running around picking things up, doing everything, getting everything ready. I hadn't spoken with her, but I had been speaking with her best friend, the one that set us up, and my best friend, because we were going to double date to prom. I had been with her friend's date all day, and I was on my way to pick her up, and I got a phone call from her friend saying that she had an allergy attack and she couldn't go to prom.
What time was that?
I'd have to say about 3:50.
Go ahead.
I was getting ready for prom at about 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Got dressed, went and got my nails done, and I made my hair appointment. I went and picked up my dress. When I was getting my nails done, I did have an allergy attack, and I went home and I tried to call John after talking to my mom. I called him, and his sister answered, saying that he would be out with friends all night. So I decided, okay, I'm going to stay home for a while. A friend of mine called and said, Diana, or aren't you going to go to prom? And I said, no, I don't feel good. She says, would you like to come over, hang out, and we're not going to go do anything? And I said, okay. We ended up going over to another friend's house, just relaxing and watching movies the rest of the night, and we fell asleep.
Well, that's pretty outrageous, my dear Diana. That's pretty outrageous of you. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
You agree with I disagree.
Excuse me, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to your daughter, whose conduct was outrageous. Now, if you have an allergy attack and you are bedridden, that's one thing. But to go over to a friend's house, hang out and watch a movie is something entirely different. And I would be angry, too, if I got stood up at the last minute.
I had not yet given my permission for them to go.
I don't care.
Okay.
Whether you gave your permission or not. Did she use her own money to buy the dress?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't know about it?
I did know about it.
All right. And when you found out about it, did you say to her, I haven't given you permission?
Yes, ma'am.
When she went to get her hair and nails done, did you say to her, don't bother to have your hair and nails done because I haven't given you permission?
What I said was I haven't yet met Mr. Banks and I haven't given my permission. I need to meet him.
Miss Helser, it's not an excuse. I'm saying that your daughter's conduct was reprehensible for a 16-year-old. She stood him up for his prom.
Okay.
And she stood him up not because she was sick, because she decided she didn't want to go. And she went to a friend's house and hung out with friends. And that is reprehensible.
Is that what you did?
No.
Is that what you did?
That is what I did.
You didn't know that?
Did you stand him up because you didn't want to go, or did you stand him up because you went and had an allergy attack and then went over to Julie's house?
It was because I had an allergy attack and my friend had wanted me to come over because she knew I wasn't feeling well and wanted to hang out.
Listen to me. If you have a debilitating allergy attack, you stay home. Go ahead.
That Saturday was prom, June 4th. June 5th, I broke my rib, June 5th playing basketball, and so June 6th, I stayed home, which was on Monday. I called her best friend on the phone. We talked about it because she felt bad as well because she set us up together. And I decided to call Mrs. Helser, and we spoke on the phone for a while. She was a really nice lady, and she also felt that what she did was inappropriate. And I know that she's not legally obligated to pay me back because, you know, it's an agreement to go to a social event and that's not a contract. However, her mother being of age and me being of age, she did make a verbal contract over the phone, and I have a witness here. Her best friend is here to testify because she was on the phone when I called her.
What did her mother say?
We spoke about what Diana really did on prom night.
Well, what did you say to her mother? Her mother's here. She's a party. You can tell me what you said to her mother.
I told her that I had an agreement to go to prom with her, and she informed me that she was aware of that Diana actually had an allergy attack. And I told her no, that Diana actually decided to spend the day with her boyfriend because I guess apparently she got a boyfriend that morning and he asked her not to go.
She got a boyfriend that morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning she got a boyfriend and she decided, and he asked her not to go. So, you know, and that's perfectly fine. But
Are you saying that somebody knows that? That you have a witness here?
That I was on the phone and that she told her that? Yes, I have a witness here.
I'd like to see the witness.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Kayla Brett.
Kayla, are you a friend of hers?
Not anymore, but I was.
Were you the girl who was supposed to double date with them?
Yes.
You had originally set them up? Did you have a conversation with Diana with regard to why she didn't go to the prom with him?
Yes, I did. I called her to make sure that she was ready to go because John was on his way, and she had informed me that she did not want to go.
Did she say why she didn't want to go?
She said she had an allergy attack, but as I continued to talk to her later on that day, before my date came to pick me up, she told me that, or I think it was June 5th, that she told me she had spent the night at her boyfriend's house.
What boyfriend?
His name is Jason.
So she said she spent the evening with Jason?
Yes.
Prom evening with Jason?
Yes. She also had, there's a website called MySpace. I don't know if you're familiar. It's
I don't do that machine.
It's a website where you go and you can write journal entries on there, leave comments for friends, and post pictures up there. She had left a blog explaining what she had done that day, and she said that she was at a friend's house roasting marshmallows and she had spent the night there. That's basically confirmed that what she was doing, and I did have a conversation with her, and I was quite upset, and I told her everything, how messed up it was that she had done that.
That's pretty messed up. Did you tell your mother that? Look at me. Did you tell your mother you were going to spend the night with Jason?
I told my mom I was going to spend the night over at Julie's, and I told my mom that we were going over to Jason's to watch a movie. And
your mother just said the word Julie. I never heard your mother say Jason. Your mother was whispered to you, you went to Julie's.
I did go to Julie's, ma'am. We went over to Jason's, who was not my boyfriend.
Just a second. So from Julie's house, you went to Jason's house? Mm-hmm. Didn't have an attack in between getting from Julie's house to Jason's house, did you?
They're neighbors, no.
Didn't have an attack between Julie's house and Jason's house, did you?
No, ma'am.
And she did call me and checked in, and she called at midnight and let me know that they were just about to finish up a movie. and that she would be back at Julie's by 1.
When you spoke to Mr. Banks on the phone 2 days later, did you tell him that you would compensate him for his expenses?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What did you say to him?
I said I needed to see receipts.
So you did discuss expenses?
We discussed expenses.
Fine, and you said I needed to see receipts.
Before I would even consider a discussion.
I don't believe you.
Seriously.
I don't believe you. Yep, I believe that you said to him, I will pay those expenses, but I have to see receipts.
I have emails here where he's saying that I agreed to pay $270 for prom tight. Diana said, quote, Diana said she's going to pay me $270 for prom. Hit me up. And then to Kayla, who responded, I say $300 even. What's an extra $30?
Listen, what I said to you was you had a discussion with Mr. Banks, and you are under no legal obligation. I don't believe you are under a legal obligation, but for the fact that you agreed to pay him.
I didn't agree to pay him.
Your Honor.
Just a second. In order to have a contract, Mr. Banks, let me explain something. It gets to be a little bit tricky. There has to be, in order to have a valid contract, there has to be some consideration. That means that each person is giving something. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What would be the consideration, in your judgment, for Ms. Helser to make an agreement to pay you any part of your prom expenses?
I think she felt morally obligated. She still stated to me that Diana had just gotten a job. I didn't know Diana had a job. She said Diana had just gotten a job and that she'd make Diana pay me back my money as long as I had receipts. And I have receipts here right now.
Just a second. So she said she would make Diana pay you back?
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe you.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helser stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother Lori are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
Go ahead.
I was on the other line. He had three-wayed Miss Helser. While I was on the phone, she did say that Diana would pay for the expenses out of her own paychecks because she had just gotten a job.
That's not true. What I said was I would consider based on seeing the receipts. And whether or not you were on the line.
Miss Helser?
Yes.
I'm going to flip over for a moment to your counterclaim, which I'm prepared to hear in 30 seconds or less. He's got a claim for maybe $500. He's got receipts that totally says maybe $500. You have a $4,000 counterclaim because,
yes,
according to you, your daughter was harassed, defamed, etc. She flunked all of her finals, because of what he did. So you want to get there, please? Diana?
Yes, ma'am.
Start with the ad.
I had been on MySpace and I saw an ad that Kayla had posted about paying people to kick my...
Read it directly.
Just as ad, you don't have to read it to me.
Okay.
What does that have to do with him if Kayla wrote something?
John had confronted some girls at school about...
Don't tell me any hearsay. I don't want to hear any hearsay.
See it.
He had been talking to Kayla on the conversation that I have in front of me about two girls that are going to beat my... and that basically I would look better if my was kicked.
What else?
Okay. In this email, he's saying that she'll look even worse after getting her beat. The girl that's going to beat her is Jason's ex-girlfriend, because her and Diana used to be friends, and she thinks that's f***ed up, that she's with her ex. Oh, well, whatever the reason is, she wants to beat her. It'll work. Hit me back.
What does that have to do with him?
This is his word saying that
I don't care.
he's
What does
got
that have
two
to do with
girls.
him? According to that email, Jason, the new boyfriend, had an ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend of Jason is going to beat her up.
He's got two girls at school ready to beat my daughters.
No. Listen to me. What you just read to me was that the girl is Jason's ex-girlfriend who is angry with her. He may not discourage it. He may even like it. But that's what you just read to me.
I disagree.
Well, I don't care what you agree with, Miss Helser. I would listen to you if you took responsibility for your daughter's bad behavior and said to me, listen, this was a teenage thing. I feel responsible for my daughter's bad behavior. Blew him off, and he was a very nice young man. And he
I didn't know
I'm
that.
speaking. I'm speaking. Well, he was a very nice young man. He called you 2 days later. He called you most respectfully Otherwise, you would have hung up on him. He called you most respectfully and said to you, this is what your daughter did, and it was not the right thing to do. So he was most respectful. And if you came into court, or didn't even have to come to court, if you said to him, look, I think what my daughter did was reprehensible, and I'm going to do the best I can to cover your expenses, and I'll make my daughter pay me back for whatever your costs were, because what she did was immature. She's only 16. But also unkind. And I don't raise my child to be unkind, an unkind human being, then I would have respect for you instead of making excuses.
I'm not making excuses.
You did make excuses, because I didn't hear you say to me at any time, he's a nice young man, he tried to do the right thing. My daughter did the wrong thing. My daughter was not hospitalized. She did not seek doctor's counsel that day or the next day. She went out with her girlfriend Julie and her new boyfriend Jason, and they hung out together until after midnight, and it was not the right thing to do when he was supposed to pick her up at 4 o'clock, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not, I'm speaking, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not in an emergency room.
We did not have any idea when he would arrive to pick her up.
Madam, you are operating somewhere in La La Land. Your daughter knew he was going to pick her up at 4 o'clock.
Did you know that?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, you did. Because you spoke to her and you were supposed to double date. So don't give me baloney. Let me see the receipts, please. Did you flunk your classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave school?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what happens when you do the wrong thing. You didn't give the flowers to anybody else, did you?
No, Your Honor.
You're even, my dear, going to pay for your own flowers, because I think that your mother made an agreement with him to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $415. That's all. Thank you.
Salminio Moten is suing his ex-fiancée, Andrea Umerski, for the return of a laptop. Andrea claims Salminio gave her the computer before he was deployed to Iraq.
Mr. Moten, it is your claim that the defendant, who is your former girlfriend, has a computer that belongs to you. You want it back.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you gave her the computer a long time ago. It was a gift. It was a second computer that you had. You had bought yourself a new one. She has a counterclaim for a whole bunch of nonsense. How old is this computer, Mr. Moten?
3 years old, Your Honor.
When did you buy yourself a new computer, Mr. Moten?
2008, Your Honor.
Why did you buy yourself a new computer?
Because I was getting deployed to Iraq, and the old computer, it was old and it was slower than my new computer. So I felt I needed more storage.
And you were taking the new computer to Iraq?
Yes, for business matters.
So you bought yourself a new one. And at that time, you were involved with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was your girlfriend?
She was my girlfriend at that point, Your Honor.
Tell me about when he gave you the computer.
When he came back home on leave, we were scheduled to be married, and he gave me the computer when he left back.
What did he say?
He didn't really say much. I mean, he just left it for me because he had a new computer. He didn't need it anymore.
What did he say to you?
There was no specific that, I mean, I recall that he said he just gave me the computer. We jointly lived together. I mean, I have a text message stating that I can have the computer after we broke up.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
If the screen goes blank, you can just press the OK button.
Bird is the button presser.
That would be his number listed below, his cell phone number.
It's cool to keep the laptop. Just give me my mail and my clothes. Did you send that to her?
I think so, Your Honor. Yes, I did.
So?
Well, at that point in time, I felt like at that point in time, I had no way of getting my laptop. I had to get...
Just a second. You went to Iraq, you came back, you broke up. The reasons for it are irrelevant to me. And when you came back, you asked her for the computer.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she said to you, you gave it to me.
No, she said, for me to give you my computer, you have to give me $400 for her ring.
And you said what?
I said, I don't owe you for the ring because I...
Fine. You said, I don't owe you for the ring. That's part of a counterclaim. I don't have to hear that just yet. But at some point, she had your mail and your clothes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you said to her, it's okay, keep the laptop, which she's now had in her possession for over a year, correct?
Yes.
Keep the laptop, just give me my mail and my clothes. That's what you wrote. Did you get your mail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you get your clothes?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, then she keeps the computer.
Well,
you
no,
made a bargain with her. You said, give me my mail, give me my clothes, you keep the laptop. You got your mail, you got your clothes, she keeps the laptop.
She was asking to keep the laptop because she needed internet access for her and her kids. I was being generous by letting her keep it, but...
Well, you were being generous by letting her keep it. That's what you said. Mr. Moten, were you out of the country serving your country at war?
Yes, Your Honor.
You saw lots of them?
Yes, I did.
You don't have to go back anymore, do you?
No, not at this point, Your Honor. No.
Great. And you're home safe and sound, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about a computer that was so old and slow that you got rid of it, that you bought yourself a new one.
Yes.
Right?
I did, Your Honor.
Just a second. Old, slow, bought yourself a new one. You know how many old computers I have in my house? My husband says they're too slow. I said, where are you going? Then it has to be faster. But you got yourself a faster one, right?
Yes, I did.
Right? And you came home safe and sound. What are you bothering with minutiae for? What are you bothering with nonsense for, Mr. Moten? Especially when you said to giving my mail and my clothes and keep the laptop.
Well, I had important files on my laptop that I really wanted.
And you did without them for almost 2 years now, right?
Yes.
You'll do it without them for another 20.
I asked her to put it on a hard drive.
And did she?
No, she wanted to keep the whole laptop.
Just a second. Did he ask you to store some stuff for him?
No.
No, of course not. He's making it up as he's going along. Forget it, Mr. Moten. You got home safe and sound. You gave her the computer probably before you left because you got yourself a new one. That's what boyfriends do for their girlfriends. They say, here, let the kids use this one. Let the kids play games on this one because I got one that's faster, that's got more memory, that's got this. And then when you broke up, now you want your computer back.
Well,
and she's not going to give it to you. She's not going to give it to you because you gave it to her. Not once, probably, but twice. Now let's get to your nonsense counterclaim.
Okay. Your Honor, when he asked me to marry him, he agreed that I would go purchase the rings on my credit card, and when he came back 2 months later, he would pay the full bill. We later did break up, and we agreed that because he had one ring and I had the other ring, that he would pay half, and I also have an email saying that I will pay half. I don't have a problem with that, and here's the bill. But it's from a month ago, so there's still late payment charges on there. I haven't paid it. I have 3 children. I have more important bills to pay than a credit card bill.
Did you tell her to go buy 2 rings?
No, Your Honor. She bought the rings on her own.
It says, I will pay my half. I don't have a problem with that. Hope everything goes well with your new relationship. I wish you all the best. Did you send this to her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You have 1 ring, correct?
Yes, I do.
Well, who's supposed to pay for that ring?
Well, she actually gave it to me as a gift, and she was asking me to pay for it.
Let me see it.
So the ring?
Yeah.
I didn't bring it, Your Honor. I forgot it.
Mr. Moten, you're really annoying me. I mean, you did get a copy of her counterclaim, did you not, about the ring?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, how could you not bring it if I wanted to look at it? How much was the ring that he has in his possession?
Here's the original bill.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. And then there's the interest and stuff incurred because he didn't pay the original bill.
We took him off the lease so he could not go into the apartment again.
Okay. Where did you move in June?
I moved into her apartment.
Step up, please. First time I interviewed a girlfriend that I found them useful. Tell me your name.
Suzanne Olson.
Who do you live with, Miss Olson?
With Josh.
Only?
And his mother. And my 2 kids.
Well, now we're getting there. Josh.
His mom. And
his
my 2
mother.
kids.
And your 2 children.
Correct.
Okay. Whose apartment or house is it?
His mother's.
The original apartment in question.
I'm speaking, Swifty. So you live in his mother's house?
Correct. We just moved there.
When?
When did we move?
That's my question. I need an answer.
In the middle of June.
And where did you live before that?
In an apartment.
With whom?
My 2 kids.
And when did he move into your apartment?
The middle of May.
So he did not pay rent when he moved in with you in the middle of May?
Right.
He did not pay rent. Don't play with me, Miss Olson. I'm 10 times ahead of you. We understand each other?
Okay.
And then when you could no longer live in that apartment, you moved in with his mother?
Correct. We moved to the town where his mother lives to get away from everything that was going on.
To get a fresh start. Is it your intention to get a place of your own?
Correct.
Lovely. Do you personally give his mother any money for rent?
Yes.
How much do you give her?
$300 a month.
And how much do you give your mother?
That's the $150 apiece. That's what we give her.
Well, why do you give her $150 apiece? She's got 2 children.
The 2 children are cared for by their fathers, by child support and also by her.
You're not following me, sir. There were 4 of you living in your mother's home.
Correct.
So you don't split this in half. Very small percentage of that $300 a month is yours. She's 3 people, and according to you, she gets plenty of child support.
Correct.
In addition to her own salary. So you've got to pay the last month's rent in June. You got it?
Got it.
Perfect. How much is his share?
It is $312.50.
All right, 500 and 312.50. 812. What else do you want from him?
The items he stole, after he gave me back his key and had left, he had a copy that I was unaware about and had gone back and took other items after we
Like
split
what?
up things. He took a digital camera, a TV, which we did pay half and half.
I'm not splitting that up. Go ahead.
He took all the DVDs, and he also took a videotape of my son.
That involved a child. You had a miscarriage, is that right?
It was a stillborn.
Or a stillborn? His?
Yes.
It's a sonogram? Is that what it is? You have that?
Yes,
You want it?
I do. That's the only item I was able to obtain. Everything else was hidden, so I do want
Well,
it.
then why don't I suggest you do this, Mr.
I offered
Carney?
I offered to make a copy and give it to her.
Which I have
Which
not yet received.
Well, then do it.
We'll do.
Do it 5 days from today. All the rest of those things, you're going to have to get over. You understand? Okay. You owe her $812.50. That's all.